Uy, Bax, nagugutom ako. Kumain ka na ba?
Uy, Box, tumingin ka sa kaliwa, may pogi.
Ito ba?
Ano ba, Box? Bakit sinama?
You are my destiny. You are my destiny.
Okay ka lang ba?
Ala, biyak na yung bato.
Ha? Biak na ba to? Alam nyo ba?
Ang konstitusyon ng Biak na Bato ay base sa Cuban Constitution na inilathala ni na Isabela Ortacio at Felix Ferrer. Nalagdaan ang Biak na Bato noong November 1, 1897 na nagbibigay bisa sa pagkatatag ng Supreme Council na magsisilbing pinakamataas na katawan ng mamumuno sa Republika. On November 16, 1937, President Manuel L. Quezon declared a 2,117-hectare area in Biak na Bato as a national park to honor the historic republic. In the 1970s, Ferdinand Marcos introduced policies for mineral prospecting and government reservations, which affected the park's boundaries. Later on, April 11, 1989, President Corazon Aquino issued Proclamation Number 401, redefining the park's limit. The new boundaries included 952 hectares as a mineral reservation, 938 hectares as a watershed reservation, and 480 hectares as a forest reserve.
The Republic of Biak na Bato was a short-lived revolutionary government led by Emilio Aguinaldo during the Philippine Revolution. It was established on 1897 in Biak na Bato, Bulacan. It was part of a series of Filipino efforts in expanding the Spanish rule in the Philippines.
The Republic lasted only about a month after ending Aguinaldo and Spanish Governor-General Primo de Rivera signed a peace treaty known as the Pact of Biak na Bato, which led to Aguinaldo's exile in Hong Kong. Ang Republika ng Biak na Bato ay naitatag matapos tumakas ni Aguinaldo mula sa Spanish siege at magtakda ng camp sa Biak na Bato, Bulacan, kung saan nasimulan ang laban sa pagitan ng puwersa ng mga Espanyol. Aguinaldo issued demands for reforms including land redistribution, representation in the Spanish Cortes, and religious freedom. Noong November 1, 1897, ang probisyon ng konstitusyon ay nalagdaan na nagbigay ng daan para maihayag ang kalayaan ng Pilipinas mula sa mga mananakop. Dahil sa hindi mapigilang revolusyon, Governor-General Primo de Rivera sought peace and negotiations led to the pact. Kasama ang provision for Aguinaldo's exile, kapalit ng buwis na nagkakahalagang $800,000 at pagsuko sa armas ng mga rebelde. Ang kasunduan ay matagumpay na natuldukan ang Republika, ngunit ang mga pangako ukol sa reforma ay hindi ganap na natupad. Despite its brief existence, the Republic of Biak na Bato symbolized the Filipino struggle for independence.
Ayan, so now, this is what happened or paano siya na-promulgate kung paano ito nagsimula ang 1897 Constitution of Biak na Bato. So, Emilio Aguinaldo established his headquarters in Biak na Bato in the province of Bulacan. In July 1897, Aguinaldo established the Biak na Bato Republic and issued a proclamation stating the following demands. So, ito na yon. First is the expulsion of the friars and the return of the friar lands to the Filipinos. Second, representation in the Spanish courts. Third, freedom of the press and of religion. 4. Abolition of the government power to banish Filipinos. 5th, equality for all before the law. So, kumbaga, ito na yung nilalaman ng Constitution na yon. So, mostly sa limang demands na to ng Biak na Bato kasi during these times alam naman natin na we were once a colonized country by the Spanish government or Spanish Empire. So, Aguinaldo made this constitution, no, para kung mapapansin nyo, no, na magkaroon tayo ng representasyon sa mga Spanish courts. Di ba, pangatlo dito is the freedom of the press and of religion. Magkaroon tayo ng karapatan na magkaroon ng boses, maipahayag ang ating opinyon, pati magkaroon ng sarili-sarili nating relihiyon. Pang-apat naman is magkaroon ng yung abolisyon ng gobyerno na kapangyarihan nilang i-banish ang mga Filipino, kasi nga nalaman natin na since we are a colonized country by the Spanish, no, may karapatan ng Espanya dati na kumbaga i-abolish or i-banish ang isang tao sa bansang ito, no, kagaya ni Emilio Aguinaldo. He was actually na-banish siya sa Pilipinas for about 3 years. Just right before the end of the Spanish colonization. Napunta siya sa Hong Kong pero nakabalik din siya after the end of Spanish War nung mangyari yung yung Paris Treaty, yung Treaty of Paris. So ngayon, ating alamin kung ano ba yung mga organs of the government under the 1897 Constitution of Biak na Bato. So first is the Supreme Council. It said here that it's vested with the power of the Republic. So what do you mean first by Republic? Republic is a form of government in which the people elect or choose their leaders. So therefore, the Supreme Council, this council is usually composed of influential individuals or leaders to make important decisions for the Republic as a whole. So it was headed by, of course, the President and the 4 departments. What are those 4 departments? So first is the Foreign Affairs. It is an interaction with other countries, and it is responsible for handling the Republic relations and interactions with other countries. Second is the Interior, are the one includes in managing of domestic issues such as law enforcement, local governance, and public administration. Third is the Treasury. It includes collecting taxes, managing government revenues and expenditures, and overseeing monetary policy. And lastly is the War. Includes the organizations and deployment of Republic Armed Forces, as well as the defense strategy and planning in times of conflict and war. So the second organs of the government under the 1897 Constitution of Biak na Bato is the Consejo Supremo de Gracia y Justicia, or the Supreme Council of Grace and Justice. It given the authority to make decisions and affirm or disapprove the sentences rendered by other courts and to dictate rules for the administration of justice. So the primary function was to oversee the legal systems to ensure the fairness and the dispensation justice within the jurisdiction it governed. So it said here that it was given an authority to make decision. So of course, the Supreme Council had the authority to make decisions on legal matters, and this involved the cases, interpret laws, and rendering judgments or making an evaluation. And also, it said here that it affirmed or disapproved the sentences. So Supreme Council had the power to confirm or reject sentences issued by the lower courts. And also, sabi din dito, to dictate rules for the administration of justice. So, the Supreme Council is responsible for establishing rules and regulations governing the administration of justice within its jurisdiction. So, this could include the procedural rules, the guidelines for legal proceedings, and standards for legal practice. So in short, the Supreme Council, it played a crucial role in, of course, upholding the rule of law and to ensure that the justice was administered fairly and impartially, and its authority is to help maintain order and integrity within the legal systems of the region or entity it governed. So, the third organ of the government under the 1897 Constitution of Biak na Bato is the Asamblea de Representantes, or the Assembly of Representatives. is to be convened after the revolution to create a new constitution and to elect a new council of government and representatives of the people. So it said here that to create a new constitution. So this is one of the tasks of the Assembly of Representatives, and outlining the structure of the government, the rights of the citizens, and the distribution of powers among governmental institutions. And it said also here to elect a new council of government. So another important responsibility of the Assembly of Representatives was to elect a new council of government. This council would likely serve as the executive branch of the government. They are responsible for implementing laws, administering the public affairs, and representing the entity or country domestically and internationally. Representatives of the people or election of representatives of the people. So the Assembly of the Representatives would have been tasked with electing representatives of the people, and these representatives would likely serve in a legislative body such as a parliament or Congress, and would be responsible for enacting laws or representing the interests of their constituents, and provide system of checks and balances within the government. So overall, the Assembly de Representantes was envisioned as a key institution of the post-revolutionary period and responsible for laying the foundation for a new political order, establishing the democratic governance structure, and ensuring the representation and participation of the people in decision-making process. And that's the three branches of the government under the Constitution of Biak na Bato. Yan. So, this constitution was never fully implemented since a truce, the Pact of Biak na Bato, was signed between the Spanish and the Philippine Revolutionary Government. So, since itong constitution ng Biak na Bato, hindi siya truly na-implement sa buong Pilipinas, as this constitution was being signed only by the Pact of Biak na Bato, which is ruled by Emilio Aguinaldo, of course, and his colleagues or group. Hindi siya masyadong na-implement kasi nagkaroon pa rin ng conflict between the Spanish and the Philippine Revolutionary Army. And so Biak na Bato fails, no? So bakit? Sa haba ng panahon na more than 300 years na alitan ng Pilipinas at saka ng Espanya, now we were under the rule of Spain during that time. Humina ang Espanya pero ang Pilipinas, nagkaroon tayo ng kakaunting ang power within the revolution. So sa hinahababa naman na ang panahon na nagalitan tayo, nagigera, so ang mga Pilipino, ang mga Espanya, hindi pa rin natin kaya, sundin yung peace, yung pact na yun, or yung treaty na yun, or yung agreement na yun. Kasi hindi natin sila kaya ang pagkatiwalaan, no? Tapos, ang resulta nun, nagkaroon pa rin ng mga kakaunting clashes or gera between the two groups, no? Ang mga Philippine Revolutionary Army, pati ang grupo ng mga Espanya, ngayon, kahit na umalis na si Aguinaldo, kahit na napirmahan na yung yung treaty na yun or yung agreement na yun ng Gobernador General ng Espanya, pati ni Emilio Aguinaldo, which is he is the leader of the Philippine Revolutionary Government. Ngayon, meron pa ding nangyayaring giyera doon, no? At saka, ang Espanya, hindi binayaran ng buo yung napag-usapang agreement or napag-usapang 800,000 Mexican peso. Okay, so to understand more about the content and context of this Biak na Bato Republic or their constitution, let's look up a preamble of this constitution. So from the primary source, preamble of the Biak na Bato Constitution, the separation of the Philippines from the Spanish monarchy, and their formation into an independent state with its own government called the Philippine Republic has been the end sought by the revolution and the existing war, begun on the 24th August 1894, and therefore, in its name and by the power delegated by the Filipino people, interpreting faithfully their desires and ambitions, the representatives of the revolution in a meeting at Biak na Bato on November 1, 1897, unanimously adopted the following articles for the Constitution of the state. So, upon analyzing the preamble of the Constitution of Biak na Bato, malalaman natin na this Constitution was created to separate the Philippines from the Spaniards or from the government of Spain. So this definitely speaks of an independent state, no, a state that is free from the hands of those colonizers, especially the Spain. So definitely the content and the perspective of this particular constitution was actually based on the revolutionary government created by, of course, started by Andres Bonifacio, who founded the Katipunan. However, this was the time already of Emilio Aguinaldo and not of Andres Bonifacio. And so malalaman natin na yung perspektibo dito ay coming from the perspective of the group of Emilio Aguinaldo. Ngunit, sa kasamaang palad, the Biak na Bato Constitution was never fully implemented and was never fully, it was not really fully implemented in reality. So sabi dito, this constitution was never fully implemented since a truce, the Pact of Biak na Bato was signed between the Spanish and the Philippine Revolutionary Government. So because the Biak na Bato was signed by the Spanish government and the Philippine Revolutionary Army represented by the Emilio Aguinaldo, of course. So, however, we have to understand that what happened in history is that during the Treaty of Paris, after the Spaniards signed the Biak na Bato, yung kasunduan, ang nangyari is the Treaty of Paris, the Philippines was actually sold by the Spaniards to the Americans with the amount of 20 million US dollars. So the Philippines ended up to the hands of Americans, and therefore, whenever had our independent and a sovereign state or nation, no, after signing the truce, also, the Biak na Bato Constitution, the Filipino revolutionary leaders, especially the group of Aguinaldo, of course, Emilio Aguinaldo, who lead the revolutionary government, during the time, they accepted the payment from Spain, and they want to exile in Hong Kong upon the defeat of the Spanish to the Americans in the Battle of Manila Bay on May 1, 1898. So the United Navy transported Emilio Aguinaldo in going back to the Philippines, so that is the second reason why the Biak na Bato Constitution was never fully implemented in reality. So because it does not really create an independent state, in fact, it ended up being in which the Philippines was actually handed over to another colonizer. Now, so from the hands of Spaniards, now to the hands of Americans. Ang naging problema din was that the Biak na Bato Constitution was not accepted by the Americans, no? It was not recognized, of course, by the Americans, no? So that is why it was not really implemented in reality, and it was not fully implemented. So that was a failure, no? So although ang magandang nangyari doon is that they started to create that independent state, no? Nandoon yung desire ng mga Pilipino to have our freedom from the hands of the Spanish colonizers. Biruin mo nga naman, they were colonizing us for more than 300 years. So if you were there and the situation, makikita mo na they have that passion, they have that desire really to have an independent state. At yun yung magandang simula doon, no, na sinimulan nila na magkaroon tayo ng isang independent republic, which is of course independent from the foreign control.
Kuya La, di ba may quiz tayo sa Readings in Philippine History?
Wait, talaga ba? Tara, mag-review muna tayo dito. Bakit nga babiyak na ba tong pangalan ng unang konstitusyon ng Pilipinas? Tsaka bakit may national park ito, gayong konstitusyon lamang ito?
Bakit ka ba biyak na bato yung pangalan? So, the Constitution is named after the place where it was drafted, which is Biak na Bato National Park in the Philippines. So, this is where the revolutionary leaders of the Philippine Revolution led by Emilio Aguinaldo and his companions sought refugees from Spanish authorities in 1897. So, kasi sunod-sunod yung pagkatalo ni na Aguinaldo sa Cavite, kinakailangan nilang umatras, no, papuntang Talisay, Batangas, at naglakbay sila sa Hilaga, no, kung saan sila nagkubli sa kabundukan sa San Miguel sa Bulacan, no. Pinili nila yung lugar na yon kasi hindi madaling matunton ng mga kaaway.
Ganun pala.
May tanong ako.
Ano yun?
So, sa maikling panahon ng konstitusyon ng Biak na Bato, bakit nananatiling makasaysayan ito sa mga Pilipino?
Nanatiling makasaysayan ang konstitusyon ng Biak na Bato despite its short presence in the government dahil dito nakapaloob yung mga karapatan ng mga Pilipino. Tsaka it symbolizes the struggle of Filipino individuals in achieving independence.
Ganun pala yun. Kaya, hala, anong oras na? Magsisimula na yung quiz natin sa
Uy,
kanila.
tara na.
Wait lang.
Yan kasi, karingking ka, napahiya ka tuloy.
Oo nga,
Ano ba yan? Hindi tumitingin sa dinadaanan, kaya nadidisgrasya eh.
Nakapag-review na pa kayo sa RPH?
Review? Ano meron dun?
Kaya nga, may exam ba dun? Meron! First Constitution pa nga lang yung nababasa ko eh. Hindi pa ako tapos.
Yan, galing yung cellphone mo, pakalat-kalat. Malalos yan, sige ka.
Ha? Malolos? Doon ako nakatira eh. Ha? Malolos? May kwento ako dyan.
Ang Malolos Congress ay bahagi ng revolutionary government ng Pilipinas, kung saan nagtipon ng mga delegates mula Hunyo hanggang Setyembre 1898. Noong Setyembre 15, 1988, binuksan ito sa Baraswain Church sa Malolos, Bulacan, sa pangunguna ni Emilio Aguinaldo upang bumuo ng konstitusyong magiging gabay ng bagong pamahalaan. Noong Enero 22, 1899, naipahayag ang Malolos Constitution, ang kauna-unahang demokratikong constitution sa Asya na nagtatag ng Philippine Republic at ginawang Assembly of Representatives ang Malolos Congress. Ang 85 na delegates nito ay may iba't ibang propesyon, mula abogado at doktor hanggang magsasaka, at 5 sa kanila ay walang natapos na kolehiyo. Ang Malolos Congress ay simbolo ng pagkakaisa at kakayahan ng mga Pilipino na bumuo ng sariling gobyerno kahit nasa gitna ng revolusyon. Ang Malolos Constitution ay isang makasaysayang simbolo ng talino at tapang ng mga Pilipino. Ipinahayag ito noong January 21, 1899 bilang unang saligang batas ng unang Republika ng Pilipinas. Isinulat ni Felipe Calderon at Felipe Buencamino at naging alternatibo sa mga panukala ni Apolinario Mabini at Padre Paterno. Layunin nitong limitahan ang kapangyarihan ng Pangulo upang maiwasan ng diktadura. Pero may provision sa Article 99 na nagbibigay ng malawak na kapangyarihan sa Pangulo sa panahon ng digmaan para sa mabilis na paggawa ng desisyon. Ang inklusyon ng Article 99 ay isang praktikal na hakbang dahil nasa gitna ng laban para sa kalayaan ng bansa. Sa kabila nito, ipinakita rin ng konstitusyon ang pangmatagalang layunin ng mga Pilipino na magkaroon ng demokratikong sistema at maayos na pamahalaan. Sa paglikha nito, pinatunayan ng mga Pilipino na kaya nilang magkaisa at magpatakbo ng isang bansa kahit nasa gitna ng digmaan. Ang kwento ng Malolos Constitution ay hindi lang tungkol sa paggawa ng batas, kung hindi isang patunay na kagustuhan ng mga Pilipino para sa kalayaan at sariling pamamahala. Isa itong paalala ng ating kakayahang magtagumpay laban sa mga hamon sa pamamagitan ng talino, pagkakaisa at tapang.
Ganun pala yung nangyari sa Malolos Constitution tsaka sa mga sumulat ng Constitution na yan. Oo.
So, di ba nasabi mo kanina? Kung di ko nagkakamali, merong 85 na delegado, di ba? So, yung mga taong yun, iba-iba yung mga antas ng pinag-aralan nila. May mga nakapagtapos at meron namang hindi. So, ang tanong ko, wala bang naging epekto yun yung panahon na yun?
Hindi naman dahil kung iisipin mo, isa itong magandang halimbawa ng bayanihan. Dahil meron mga iba't ibang background yung mga tao, nagkaroon sila ng pagkakaisa para sa sarili nilang kalayaan at para sa sariling gobyerno ng Pilipinas. Nabanggit mo nga dahil 5 doon sa delegado na yun is walang college degree pero naging bahagi sila ng napakalaking kasaysayan ng Pilipinas.
Doon naman sa mga authors, di ba sabi mo hindi lang isa yung sumulat nun. Nagkaroon ba sila ng same ideas para mabuo yung constitution na yun?
Nagsimula kasi ang kwento ng Malolos Congress kung saan nagkaroon sila ng iba't ibang ideya kung paano gagawin ang saligang batas. Kasi si Apolinario Mabini, nagmungkahi siya ng mas konserbatibong panukala, habang si Padre Paterno may sarili ring version. Pero sa huli, ang draft na nanalo ay ang isinulat na Felipe Calderon y Roca at si Felipe Buencamino. Kaya matapos ang mahabang talakayan noong 1898, nanalo ang huling pinal na version.
So, ganun pala yung nangyari. Ang galing naman. Kung tanong ako, di ba nagkaisa na nga sila? Pero may ano ba? Parang nagkaroon ng impluwensya sa pagsulat ng Constitution?
Yan yung aalamin naman natin.
Ngayong nakilala na natin ang mga manunulat ng Malolos Constitution, atin namang talakayin kung ano ba ang nilalaman nito. Simulan natin ito sa preamble na makikita sa unang bahagi ng Constitution. Ang preamble ng Malolos Constitution ay nagpapakita ng mga layunin o dahilan kung bakit ba binuo ang konstitusyon na ito. Ang mga pangunahing ideya nito ay ang kalayaan, pagkakaisa at pagtatag ng isang gobyernong binubuo ng mga Pilipino na maglilingkod para sa mga mamamayan nito. Narito ang mga pangunahing layunin ng preamble. Una sa listahan ay ang paggalang sa karapatan ng bawat tao. Binibigyang diin na ang kapangyarihan ng gobyerno ay nagmumula sa mamamayan at ito ay dapat magsilbi sa kapakanan ng tao at igalang ang kanilang mga karapatan. Ikalawa ay ang hangarin para sa kalayaan at katarungan. Isinasalaysay dito ang kagustuhan ng mga Pilipino para sa kalayaan, katarungan, pagkakapantay-pantay at ang kanilang layunin na ang bansa ay maging malaya mula sa pamamahala ng mga dayuhan. Ang ikatlo naman ay ang pagsasauna ng kapakanan ng nakararami. Isang halimbawa nito ay ang paggawa ng gobyerno ng isang desisyon na makakatulong sa kapakanan ng nakararaming Pilipino. At ang huli ay ang kalayaan para sa bayan.
Ipinahayag dito ang pagtutok ng mga Pilipino sa paggamit ng kalayaan at pagtatag ng sariling pamahalaan. Narito ang kopya ng preamble ng Malolos Constitution na nakasulat sa wikang Ingles. Ngayong natapos na tayo sa pagpapaliwanag ng preamble, alamin naman natin ang mga konstitusyon na nakaimpluwensya sa Malolos Constitution. Ang Malolos Constitution ay apektado ng mga ideya mula sa iba't ibang bansa, lalo na ng mga bansang gumamit at gumagamit pa rin ng wikang Kastila o Espanyol, dahil hindi naman lingid sa ating kaalaman na naging malalim ang koneksyon ng Pilipinas at Espanya pagdating sa kultura, politika at tradisyon. Narito ang ilan sa mga konstitusyon na nakaapekto sa nilalaman ng Malolos Constitution. Una narito ay ang konstitusyon ng Espanya noong 1812. Malaki ang naging impluwensya ng konstitusyon na ito sa pagbuo ng Malolos Constitution dahil dito na ipakilala ang mga ideya tulad ng monarkiyang konstitusyonal, karapatang pantao at pagkakahati-hati ng kapangyarihan. Pero, ang konstitusyon ng Malolos ay mas pinagtibay pa sa paggawa ng isang republika kung saan ang mga pinuno ay nahahalal. Ikalawa, ang French Constitution of 1793. Kumuha ng inspirasyon ng mga taga-Malolos mula sa konstitusyon na ito. Dito nila nakuha ang mga ideya tungkol sa pagpapahalaga ng pagkakapantay-pantay at demokrasya na naging sentro rin noon nang naganap ang French Revolution. Ang ikatlo naman ay ang United States Constitution of 1787. Ang konstitusyon na ito ay may malaking epekto lalo na sa mga ideya tungkol sa demokrasya at pagkakahiwa-hiwalay ng kapangyarihan sa executive, legislative at judicial. Ang mga ideyang ito ay nakatulong sa pagbuo ng estruktura ng gobyerno sa Malolos Constitution. Bukod sa mga nasabing konstitusyon, ang konstitusyon ng Malolos ay naapektuhan din ng mga konstitusyon mula sa Belgium, Mexico, Brazil, Costa Rica at Guatemala na nagbigay ng mga halimbawa kung paano ba itatag ang isang demokratikong gobyerno. Bukod sa mga banyagang impluwensya, may mga lokal na kilusan at dokumento rin ang naging ambag sa pagbuo ng konstitusyon ng Malolos. Una na dito ay ang Kartilya ng Katipunan. Ito ang naging gabay noon para sa mga kasapi ng Katipunan, ang revolusyonaryong grupo na lumaban para sa kalayaan. Itinataguyod ng Kartilya ang mga prinsipyo ng pagkakapatiran, pagkakapantay-pantay at ang kalayaan. At ang isa pa sa mga naging impluwensya ay ang konstitusyon ng Biak na Bato. Bagamat hindi ito naipatupad ng buo, ang konstitusyon ng Biak na Bato ay nagbigay pa rin ng mga unang ideya ukol sa pamamahala, kaya naman nakatulong pa rin ito sa pagbuo ng Malolos Constitution.
Ay guys, may naisip akong tanong. Ano yon? Diba, ang Malolos Constitution ay ang unang constitution sa Republika ng Pilipinas. Ano sa tingin niyo yung wikang ginamit para masulat yun?
Eh di malamang Tagalog, Pilipino. Unang constitution yun eh. Dapat lamang na sariling wika natin yung gamitin.
Sa bagay. Pero para sa akin, siguro ang ginamit nilang wika ay wikang Espanyol. Kasi for sure, ang nagsulat ng constitution ay mga taong may pinag-aralan. So, matik na yun, na Espanyol ang gagamitin nila. Pero iniisip ko, kung Espanyol lang ang gagamitin nila, bakit naman Espanyol, hindi Pilipino?
Tama ka dyan, Danhil. Ang wikang ginamit para maisulat ang Malolos Constitution ay wikang Espanyol. Ngunit bakit nga ba? Nung mga panahon kasi na yun, nasa ilalim pa tayo ng pamumuno ng Espanya. At ang wikang ginagamit para sa mga dokumento na pampamahalaan ay ang wikang Espanyol. Kaya naman kahit na itinatag ang Malolos Constitution para sa pag isang bagong republika ng Pilipinas, hindi pa rin sariling wika natin ang nagamit natin para masulat ito.
Tsaka oo nga, di ba? Sabi ni Sir Enriquez, ang mga taong nasa gobyerno daw noon ay mga ilustrado. Ibig sabihin, mga edukado. Di ba ang inaaral na lengguwahe nila ay Espanyol? Na ang tingin ng mga tao dati dito ay superior.
Kaya siguro, Espanyol ang ginamit nilang wika. Kasi nga, sila yung may mga pinag-aralan at mas sanay silang gamitin ng wikang Espanyol.
Pero may isa pa akong tanong. Ano ba yung pinakang nilalaman ng Malolos Constitution?
Magandang tanong yan. At yan ay aalamin natin ngayon.
So, ayun na nga. The 1899 Malolos Constitution serves as a foundation of principles of democratic governance that highlight the power of the people. Some of its provisions include the recognition of their natural rights and popular sovereignty, which protects the freedom and authority of the people. It also highlights the equality of beliefs, ensuring that there is no persecution nor discrimination of religious belief, as well as the separation of the state and the church, which limits the direct influence and authority of the Catholic Church as they influence the government and affairs at the time when the Philippines was under the Spaniards. And lastly, the three distinct powers known as legislative power, executive power, and judicial power. So, ito yung mga examples sa mga provisions na nakapaloob sa 1899 Malolos Constitution. So, ngayon, i-explain naman natin kung ano yung mga provisions na ito. So, una dito is yung natural rights and popular sovereignty. May kita natin to sa Article 3 ng Constitution. Kasi sabi dito, sovereignty resides exclusively in the people. So, define muna natin ano itong mga to. Una, yung natural rights. Basic rights that include the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Basically, ito yung rights na meron ng isang tao nung siya'y pinanganak sa mundong ito. Ito dapat yung meron siya. Kaya nga natural rights. And next is popular sovereignty. Sabi dito na the idea that the people are the source of a state's political legitimacy and the government derive its power from the consent of the people. So sabi kasing sovereignty, power or authority. So pag popular sovereignty, ibig sabihin from the word itself, popular means tao, ay nanggagaling yung authority or yung power ng government sa tao. So for short, wala yung gobyerno or wala yung mga nakaupo sa gobyerno kung hindi sila binoto ng mga tao. So, ganun lang yun. So, the Article 3 of the Malolos Constitution declares that sovereignty resides exclusively in the people as a sign of freedom from the colonial rule wherein the authority was in the hands of the Spanish government. So, alam na natin yung kwento na yung power dati kasi nga, we were colonized by the Spaniards, ay sa kanila na nanggagaling. So, wala tayong karapatan na gawin yung gusto natin kasi lahat yun kontrolado nila. So, the article recognized the authority and power of the Filipinos. The article also emphasizes the protection of the natural rights such as life, liberty, and property of every Filipino that was taken by the Spaniards for a long period of time. So, kung dati yung power nasa gobyerno lang, pero dahil sa article na to, ay binigyan na ng kahalagahan yung authority tsaka yung kapangyarihan ng mga Pilipino. Kasi nga, before, kinuha sa atin lahat yun. Lahat ng pagmamayari natin, liberty, karayaan. And yung natural rights o yung mga karapatan natin na dapat meron tayong mga Pilipino dati, ay kinuha yun lahat ng Spanish government. Sila ang nagkontrol at sila ang namuno. So, ayun lang yung para dito sa natural rights and popular sovereignty. So, next naman natin i-discuss is yung freedom and equality of all beliefs. So, ano ba itong mga to? May kita ito sa Article 5 ng Constitution. The state recognizes the freedom and equality of all beliefs and the separation of church and state. So, una, define natin ano yung freedom. Freedom, the power or right to act, speak or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. Pwede ring absence of subjection to foreign domination or despotic government. Next is, ano ba yung belief? Trust, faith, or confidence in someone or something. So, yung sources ko po dito ay galing kay Merriam-Webster. So, alam naman natin kung gaano kalimit yung mga karapatan natin tsaka freedom natin dati. And when it comes to beliefs, talagang centralized ito sa Spanish beliefs kasi ayun yung inimpose nila sa atin. Nang sapilitan yon. So, this article also addresses the equality of all beliefs, considering the diversity of religion across the country, which led to avoidance of persecution. Because of this, the state is now free to worship their gods and is now able to express itself without the fear of oppression and persecution. Kasi nga dati, Catholicism is the most dominant religion. Siyempre, Spanish. So, Catholicism, sila yung nag-introduce nun. Diba? Tandaan natin, yung 3 Gs nila, God, Gold, Glory. So, dahil dito, sinentralize nila lahat na according sa beliefs ng mga Espanyol. So, education, government, system, lahat-lahat dapat according sa kagustuhan nila. So, during the Spanish colonial period kasi, the Catholic Church had influence over the government as it was considered a part of it. So, hindi hiwalay dati. Pwede natin sabihin na integrated yung church tsaka yung government. So, isa sila or hindi sila isa, mag-partner sila, magkasama sila. Hindi sila hiwalay. The influence of the church also extended to the society, influencing the educational system that shapes the beliefs of the people and also responsible for spreading of Catholicism as it became the dominant religion in the country. So, alam naman natin, ano ba pinag-aralan ng mga ilustrado? Wikang Espanyol. Kaalaman na galing sa mga Espanyol. So, doon pala makikita na natin, di ba? Kung paano nila na-control yung kalayaan natin. And at some occasion, churches often govern a particular town, serving as a leader or sometimes a political advisor. So dahil nga integrated yung church saka yung government, isa sila. So at times yung mga friars ay nagiging political advisor sila ng mga government officials. And at some cases, sa nabasa ko, ay yung yung mga friars, pag yung isang town, parang walang namumuno doon, pwede silang mag-govern doon. Pero nagsisilbing as a church. So, friars sila at the same time, parang sila yung namumuno. So, ganun yung dating. So, talagang malaki yung yung power and authority na hawak ng church dati. So, the Constitution addressed this issue and considered limiting the influence of the church upon the state. The creation of this article separates the church and the state. So, ayun na nga, dahil sa article na to, sineparate na nila. Kasi masyadong malaki yung hawak na influence ng church. So, dapat walang influence yung church sa government. Because of this, the church cannot directly influence the affairs of the states and most of its powers governs human rights. So, yan, yung church na lang ay yung sakop nila ng kapangyarihan na to ay when it comes to kuwari may nababiolate na human rights. So, dun sila pwede mangialam. Kunwari, the death penalty against yung church doon and the divorce, the abortion against yung church doon. So, when it comes to human rights, pwedeng mangialam yung church. Pero when it comes to other issues, bawal sila mangialam sa state na yun mismo. Okay. So, tapos na tayo doon. Next naman is the 3 distinct powers. So, ano ba to? Ba't ba may 3 distinct powers? So, yung 3 distinct powers is the division of the government into 3 independent branches. So, hiniwalay yung yung bumubuo sa gobyerno dati. So, sinasabi yan dito sa Article 4, makikita natin na the government of the Republic is popular, representative, alternative, and responsible, and shall exercise 3 distinct powers, namely, the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. Any 2 or more of these 3 powers shall never be united in one person or cooperation, nor the legislative power vested in one single individual. So, sinabi dito na yung dalawang power or isa, dalawa or tatlo, bawal silang maging cooperation. So bawal silang maging iisa. Dapat hiwa-hiwalay sila. Solely dependent upon each other. And yung legislative power naman, hindi siya pwede sa isang tao lang. Malalaman natin kung ano ba yung legislative power. So legislative power, ito, is vested in a unicameral body called the Assembly of Representatives elected by the people that will serve for 4 years. So yung legislative power, vested siya or binigay sa Assembly of Representatives. So ito yung ito yung mga inelect, sila yung namumuno pagdating sa mga laws, the creation of laws, and explain natin mamaya isa. So ito, sabi dito na, no bill could become a law without having passed down by the Assembly. So, walang pwedeng maging batas na bill pag hindi dumaan sa Assembly. So, kailangan dumaan to sa Assembly of Representatives kahit mga 1/4 lang nung total Assembly. And ito yung mga powers naman na granted or yung kayang gawin ng legislative power sa Assembly. So, ito yung mga kaya nilang gawin Number 1, select its own officers. The Assembly can select its own officers and the right of censure and interpellation. So, ano yung censure? Censure is the power of a legislative body to formally express disapproval or condemnation towards an executive official, sometimes leading to potential consequences like a resignation or removal from office depending on the system. So, pag yung Assembly of Representatives na pagsusunduan nila na yung isang tao ay hindi nila nagustuhan or yung isang official nila nagustuhan, pwede nila itong paalisin. And interpellation. Ito naman yung the right of individual legislators to directly ask questions of an executive official during designated sessions, allowing for detailed examination of government policies and actions. So ito yung pag nagkaroon na sila ng assembly, pwede silang magkaroon ng tanungan or discussion para mas mapalinaw nga yung detailed or examination ng policies and actions. So, pwede itong mag-serve as a form of transparency. And next, the right of impeaching the president. So, ganun kaano yung ng assembly. So, hindi sila pwede mag-impeach ng basta-basta. May certain standards na kailangan ma-meet and approval bago nila ma-impeach yung president. Hindi lang president, the cabinet members, the chief of the Supreme Court of Justice, and the Solicitor General. So, titignan natin parang ang laking power naman ng hawak ng legislative. So, malalaman natin kung malaki ba talaga. Excuse. And the next one is the executive power. So, the executive power is vested to the president. Okay. Or the executive branch is led by the president and their appointed cabinet members that will serve for 4 years and eligible for re-election. So, yung president na appoint, pwede pa siya ulit ma-re-elect. And the president has the power to veto bills passed by the Congress. So, ano ba yung veto? So, veto power is the legal authority to unilaterally stop on official actions such as bill from becoming a law. So, kaya niyang i-deny yung isang bill na maging law. Ganun yung power na hawak ng the president. So, dito, sa Constitution, hindi nag-exist yung vice president. So, president lang yung sinabi dito sa article. And executive having the power to put plans, actions, or laws into effect. So, sila nga yung executive nga, or yung the president, siya yung kaya mag-implement. And siya yung may power na pwedeng mag-implement ng laws. So, ayan. Ito yung mga power na pinagkaloob or granted sa president or sa the executive power. So, initiation of laws, the veto power, sabi natin kanina, the command of the army and the navy, okay? And next is the right to dissolve the assembly. So, kung kagaya kanina, kaya nilang yung assembly, kaya nilang i-impeach yung president. Ngayon naman, yung president kaya niyang i-dissolve yung assembly, to send message to the legislature, to appoint the secretaries of the government, to grant pardons, and to have control over the diplomatic and commercial relations with other states. So, as typical government or typical na presidente lang ngayon, kung ano yung kayang gawin. So, next naman is yung judicial. So, yung judicial power was vested in the Supreme Court of Justice and in other courts to be created by the law. The courts are independent on the executive and legislative departments and is responsible for applying laws in civil and criminal cases in the name of the nation. So, yung judicial or yung mga courts, independent sila sa bawat isa. Ganun na din sa executive and legislative department. So, dapat wala silang connection para ma-maintain dito yung balance. So, pwede natin sabihin na yung judicial, ito yung neutral or nagsisilbing mediator. So, the court ensures that the laws complied with the Constitution and safeguarded citizens' rights. So, yung courts, sisigurado nila na yung mga bills and yung laws na ipapatupad ay complied with the Constitution. And safeguarded the citizens' right? So, dapat ayon sa Constitution yung mga ipapatupad na batas at walang nilalabag. And the Chief Justice General were to be chosen by the National Assembly. So, yung pwedeng umupo na Chief Justice and Solicitor General, pinipili ito sa National Assembly. And lastly naman, judicial power governs the law by ensuring it is interpreted and applied fairly and consistently. The judiciary resolves disputes, determine the constitution of laws, and ensures justice is upheld. It acts as the guardian of the Constitution. Disputes governs the law by ensuring it is interpreted and applied fairly and consistently. The judiciary resolves disputes, determine the constitution of laws, and ensures justice is upheld. It acts as the guardian of the Constitution and the protector of citizens' rights. So, ito siya sabi ko kanina, na siya yung nagsisilbing mediator. O, ito na nga, sabi natin, siya yung nagsisilbing guardian ng Constitution at ng protector ng mga citizens. So, ang pinaka-power ng judicial, mag-resolve ng dispute, and to make sure na lahat ng batas ay angkop sa Constitution at walang maapektuhan na citizens. So, ngayon, pwede natin masabi kung ano ba yung mga naging consequences sa society ngayon ng Malolos Constitution. So, mag-focus na lang tayo sa pinaka main issue sa Pilipinas ngayon. So, dahil sa popular sovereignty, na yung authority na nanggagaling sa mga tao, ay inaabuso ito ng mga politiko. So, yun nga, we practice democratic governance. So, ano bang problema sa democratic governance? Unang-una dyan, yung mga boto ay binibili or sinasabi nating vote buying sa paraan ng pera or ayuda. So, sa ganito paraan, sa ganitong paraan, nadadaya yung democratic governance natin. So, dahil doon, hindi nagiging patas. Ano ba yung nawawala dito? Siyempre nawawala dito yung karapatan bumoto. Kasi nga, parang binudol na yung tao. So, sa sign of pandadaya, hindi niya na mabuboto kung sino yung gusto niya mang iboto. Or binoto niya na ito dahil nga lang, binigyan niya siya ng pera. So, sino ba yung nagiging target na to? Madalas sa target ng vote buying is yung mga marginalized people. Kasi vulnerable sila pagdating sa ganitong bagay. Kasi alam ng mga politiko yung kahinaan nila or yung pinakakailangan nila, tapos ito yung ibibigay nila. Para silang binibigyan ng binigyan na kasi ng pagkain sa pagkainan. So, dahil doon, ay iboboto nila, ay ito namimigay itong politikong ito ng ganito ganyan. So, iboboto ko to. Kasi dahil sa kanya may makakain yung pamilya namin. So, little did they know na lang to. Part lang to ng part lang to ng plano ng politiko ngayon. Pero after makaupo, wala na, hindi na sila ulit mararamdaman. So, ayun yung pinaka-issue ng democratic governance or ng popular sovereignty. Pero may iba bang consequences sa mga issue? So far, sa aking palagay ay wala naman na maliban dito. Dahil malaya naman na tayo, we have natural rights, yung mga kagustuhan natin, meron tayong kalayaan, and at the same time, pwede nating i-express lahat ng saloobin natin. Kung may hindi tayo kagustuhan sa gobyerno, mayroong mga nagrarally, mayroong mga nagpo-post sa social media, mayroong gumagawa ng mga articles. So we are free to do anything we want. Pero at the same time, ayan, for a reason, hindi na ipatupad yung nang matagal yung Malolos Constitution. So, ito yung naging consequences nito. Dumami yung mga corrupt na opisyal, nagkaroon ng political dynasty. At the same time, madaming hindi deserve na mamuno. So, kung na-divide pa rin sa tatlo yung gobyerno, kagaya dun sa Malolos Constitution, ay pwedeng i-impeach ng
May tanong ako. 'Di ba? Hindi na implement ng matagal yung Malolos Constitution. Sa tingin mo ba na-apply pa rin sa society natin ngayon yung mga nakapaloob sa constitution na yun?
Magandang tanong yan. So, yun na nga. Alam naman natin na hindi na patupad ng sobrang tagal yung Malolos Constitution. Pagkakaalam ko, 2 taon lang ito napatupad. So, ayun. Kung may apply pa rin ba yung nilalaman ng Constitution sa society natin ngayon, syempre, may kita natin. Una doon yung natural rights o yung karapatan ng mga tao. Ito yung mabuhay, magkaroon ng property and liberty. Nakikita naman natin ngayon dahil tayo ay malaya na sa kung anong uri ng pananakop. Sunod naman doon ay yung popular sovereignty. So, ngayon parang hihalin tulad natin ito sa democracy. So, yung pagboto natin ng mga presidente natin, di ba? Binoboto natin sila or binoboto ng mga tao. Hindi kagaya dati na kung sino lang yung namumuno. Kaya kung talagang nakikita natin yung nilalaman ng Constitution kasi tayo malaya na at may kapangyarihan para mamili kung sino pwede mamuli sa atin.
Pero may question ako. Paano naman yung freedom and equal beliefs nila?
Magandang tanong yan. So, unang-una dyan yung freedom. So, ngayon, kita naman ulit natin, nasabi ko kanina, na tayo ay malaya na sa anumang uri ng pananakop. So, pangalawa dyan, ang maganda dyan is yung equal religious beliefs. So, dito pumapasok na kahit anong relihiyon or kung anumang paniniwala ang mayroon ng mga tao ay nire-respeto. Walang uri ng anumang diskriminasyon. So, pwede na rin natin dito may pasok yung recent yung hindi pa matanggap ng mga ibang tao, yung mga iba't ibang uri ng gender ng isang tao. So, sa Pilipinas ngayon, kagaya na sa PUP dito sa atin, ay walang discrimination. Lahat dito ay tiyatanggap, pantay-pantay at merong kalayaan.
Nagugutom na ako. Uy, si Irish! Sama ka sa amin sa lagoon. Kakain.
Na ako eh.
Uy, tingnan niyo yung mga estudyante, oh. Mga naka-iPhone. Kaya nga eh, no? Ang dami na talaga ng Commonwealth Filipinos dito sa university natin.
Ay, Commonwealth? May alam ako dyan eh. Naisip niyo ba kung paano nagsimula ang Commonwealth Constitution? Ganito yan. Sa inabahaba ng panahon na inasam ng Pilipinas na magkaroon ng kalayaan, pinangako ng Estados Unidos na bigyan ng mga Pilipino ng karapatan upang magkaroon ng nagsasariling bansa.
Before we start, first let us define what is Commonwealth. Commonwealth is defined as independent country or community. The Commonwealth is a political system in which the supreme power lies in a body of citizens who can elect people to represent them. Sa kasaysayan ng Pilipinas, ang pamahalaang Commonwealth ay isang sistema ng pamahalaan na itinatag noong 1935 bilang isang paghahanda para sa ganap na kalayaan ng bansa mula sa Estados Unidos. Ang Commonwealth ay nagsilbing isang yugto ng paghahanda para sa pagiging ganap na bansang malaya at magsasarili ng Pilipinas. Ang 1935 Constitution ng Pilipinas ay nagsilbing batayan para sa pamahalaang Commonwealth na isang uri ng pansamantalang gobyerno bago makamit ang ganap na kalayaan ng bansa mula sa Estados Unidos. Sinulat ito noong 1934 at pinagtibay ng pamahalang Commonwealth mula 1935 hanggang 1946. Bagamat isang pansamantalang sistema, ito ay nagbigay ng mga prinsipyo at istruktura na nagtatakda kung paano pamahalaan ang bansa habang ito ay naghahanda para sa kalayaan. It is worth mentioning, after the Treaty of Paris, the Philippines were subject to the power of the United States of America. Following the Treaty of Paris in 1898, which marked the end of the Spanish-American War, the Philippines came under the control of the United States. From 1898 to 1901, the Philippines had been placed under a military government until a civil government would be put into place. The military government was led by General Wesley Merritt. During this time, the main focus of the military government is to establish control over the Philippines. And since during this time nga kakagaling ng isang Pilipinas sa Spanish rule, isa sa mga naging focus nila ay i-manage ang transition from Spanish to American administration. During this period, nakikita ang iba't ibang political and social changes sa bansa. And there are two acts passed by the United States Congress that may be considered to have qualities of constitutionality. These are the Philippine Organic Act of 1902 and the Philippine Autonomy Act of 1916.
The Philippine Organic Act of 1902, also known as the Cooper Act, established a temporary civil government in the Philippines under U.S. rule. It created a bicameral legislature composed of the appointed Philippine Commission, or Upper House, and the elected Philippine Assembly, or Lower House. The act granted various rights to Filipinos, including due process, equal protection of the law, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and the freedom of religion. This act provided the foundation for a more formalized system of governance. The Philippine Autonomy Act of 1916, or Jones Law, was a significant step towards self-governance. It abolished the Philippines Commission and established the Philippine Senate, creating a fully bicameral legislature. It allowed Filipinos to elect members of both houses of the legislature, marking the first nationwide election for legislative representatives. The Jones Law was also the first formal declaration by the U.S. government offering the Philippines eventual independence, contingent on the establishment of the stable government.
In 1932, the Heroes-Cutting Act was passed by the United States Congress, with the effort of the Filipino Independence Mission led by Sergio Osmeña and Manuel Rojas, but opposed by the Senate President Manuel Quezon and consequently rejected by the Philippine Senate. The law promised Philippine independence after 10 years but reserved several military and naval bases for the United States, as well as imposed tariffs and quotas on the Philippine imports. There were disagreements between the Philippine Senate leaders and the U.S. government at that time regarding some certain provision of the Heroes-Cutting Act, and due to these agreements, the act was not ratified by the Philippines legislature. And in 1934, the Tidings-McDuffie Act, or also known as the Philippine Commonwealth and Independence Act of 1934, was passed by the United States Congress. It was enacted on July 4, 1946, that formally granted the Philippines its independence from the United States after a 10-year transitional period of the Commonwealth government. The bill was signed by the United States President Franklin D. Roosevelt in March 1934 and was sent to the Philippine Senate for approval. It provided authority and a defense mechanism for the establishment of a formal constitution by a constitutional convention. One of the prohibitions under the law is the election for the Constitutional Convention. To prepare the Philippines for eventual independence, elections were held in 1934 to select delegates for a constitutional convention. The Tydings-McDuffie Act provided a legal framework for the establishment of the Commonwealth government. It is authored by Senator Mildred E. Tydings and John McDuffie. To prepare the Philippines for eventual independence, elections were held on July 10, 1934 to select delegates for a constitutional convention. It is led by Claro M. Recto that unanimously elected as a president. Together with the 202 delegates, they drafted the 1935 Philippine Constitution, which established a Commonwealth government and outlined the path towards self-governance. To further understand the context of this particular constitution, let's proceed to the next report, which is the 1935 Constitution Preamble.
The 1935 Constitution reflected the aspirations of the Filipino people for a government based on justice, liberty, and democracy. The preamble highlighted the nation's goal to establish a government that would conserve its heritage, promote general welfare, and secure independence for future generations. These acts of constitutional developments played crucial roles in the Philippines' gradual movement towards self-rule and eventual independence.
The 1935 Constitution created the Commonwealth of the Philippines, and the draft of the Constitution was approved by the Constitutional Convention on February 8, 1935, and ratified by the President of the United States, Franklin D. Roosevelt, on March 25, 1935. Elections were held in September 1935, and Manuel L. Quezon was elected as the President of the Commonwealth, and Sergio Osmeña as our Vice President. The 1935 up to 1946 was the transitional form of government because it prepared our country to achieve our total independence from the American government.
Mahalaga ang tatlong konstitusyon na ito sa naging kasaysayan ng bansa. Mahalaga ang tatlong konstitusyon na ito sa naging kasaysayan ng bansang Pilipinas. Ang bawat isa dito ay may malaking papel na ginampanan upang makamit ang paglaya at pagkakaroon ng sariling pamahalaan ng ating bansa. Ang biak na bato ay nagsilbing unang hakbang sa pagkakaroon ng mga patakaran para sa bansa kahit na hindi ito ganap na naipatupad. Ang konstitusyon naman ng Malolos ay nagbigay ng mas malinaw na direksyon para sa pagtatayo ng isang republika. At huli, ang konstitusyon ng Commonwealth ay naglatag ng mga hakbang upang makamit ang ganap na kalayaan mula sa pananakop ng mga banyaga. Ang lahat ng konstitusyong ito ay may isang bagay na ikinapareho nila, at yun ay ang kanilang layunin na magtayo ng isang gobyerno na ang hain ay katarungan, kalayaan, at pantay na karapatan para sa bawat mamamayan. Lahat ng ito ay naglalayong tiyakin na ang mga tao, ang mga Pilipino, ang may kontrol sa gobyerno at hindi ang mga banyaga na hindi isinasaalang-alang ang kapakanan ng mga Pilipino. Kaya naman, masasabi ng aming grupo na ang bawat konstitusyong ito ay may malaking bahagi sa pagsasabuhay ng ating mga karapatan at sa pagtataguyod ng isang bansang malaya at makatarungan.